Welcome to Monster Chats, presented by Monster VoIP, where we share the tools, methods, and best practices that business leaders use to build new connections, strengthen relationships, and impact sales in organizations of all shapes and sizes. If you have any questions that come up during today's episode, please text them to 424-378-6966. Please welcome the founder of Monster VoIP, your host, Colin Mitchell.
All right, on today's episode, I'm going to be talking with Ash Kumra of Peak Mindfulness. Ash and I are going to be talking about mindfulness and Ash's journey and lessons learned from interviewing successful influencers. I'm Colin Mitchell, the host of Monster Chats and the founder of Monster VoIP. Ash has interviewed over 500 influencers, including Dr. Oz, Bernard Beckwith, FitBody Bootcamp CEO Bedros Keulian, and Dr. Drew. And is the current co-founder of the mindfulness platform, Peak Mindful, to bring mindfulness programs to professionals. Aside from writing several books on entrepreneurship himself, Ash recently wrote the foreword to the future bestseller, PROF, a story of addiction, business, and personal revelation. Ash, welcome to Monster Chats.
Hey, man. So happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I've been super pumped about getting on here with you. I know you have a busy schedule and you do a lot of these yourself. And so it's one that I've been looking forward to. So before we jump into the things that we're going to talk about today, just tell us a little bit more about yourself and like your personal journey of kind of, you know, where you grew up, your story, and how you got to where you are of interviewing such amazing people.
Yeah, I would say that right now I've been a storyteller for most of my life. And it's interesting, as I evolve and as I don't know, grow wiser or at least get more years on me, I simplify what I do. And I've realized that at the end of the day, I am a storyteller. And the way I'm a storyteller is I'm not a director or, you know, creating like screenplays, but I'm a storyteller where I like to find unique stories from people and their journeys. And then I like to show that to others and so that they can see that and kind of create a feeling of, wow, like this is a great lesson, or this is some insight, or this is just something that was helpful, or this is something that, hey, it was good knowledge and it can help me down the road. And that story itself is what I live by and thrive by. And that's why I've been very aggressive with, you know, content and, you know, featuring some of the names that you had mentioned and other people. And, you know, at the end of the day, I think I'm just a very curious person. So that's what's kind of defined me and it's allowed me to just be all in on what I do.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Were you a curious person as a kid as well?
I think every only child is a curious person. I was an only child and I grew up in the Bay Area. I had a great upbringing. I'm blessed that I had my parents and they gave me the freedom to look at things and pursue things. Here's a little interesting fact about me. I am a late bloomer. So this is a very ironic statement. I didn't properly talk like full sentences like English until I was like 4 or 5. Because I had my mom and dad were speaking like Hindi, which is like a Indian language. And then we had a housekeeper who was speaking Spanish. And then I would go to preschool and they would speak English. And I was born here, born and raised in America. And so I would speak this like weird gibberish for a little while. But it's ironic that like I was a late talker, yet I talk for a living. It's just, I don't know, I find that funny. But for me, it's just, yeah, I think the thing I learned growing up in California especially is that California is the land of innovation. Innovation, not just tech, but just any idea, dream could happen. I know, depending on what side of the spectrum you look at, one could say California has some deficiencies or lacks this, and I'm not going to disagree with any of that, but I will say that the creativity and the diversity in people you meet, like in any corner of like most major parts of California, is like unlike any place I've been to in the world. And I think growing up in California is a big blessing for me. It's helped me shape who I am.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with that. And just to kind of add on to that, it's also, I mean, living in California, you have so much opportunity, right? Like there's just whatever your dreams, passion, you know, it's a place where you can live and easily pursue that. Not everybody has that is not as fortunate to have that, right?
Right. No, I totally agree with you. I think California had a big upbringing on me. I'm so pro California, like to the day I die, at least for now. I love California.
Sometimes it's a love-hate relationship, at least like in LA.
You have traffic and Yeah, I know. Traffic and yeah, it's funny. Like I love LA. Like I love driving there. And I'm like, oh, maybe I should live in LA. But then I'm like 2 hours in just to go to somewhere that'll take 10 minutes normally. And other places like, I don't know anymore.
Yeah, they have to be like a top influencer to probably get you to deal with that traffic, right?
It'd be a pain, but it's all good. It is what it is.
So tell me a little bit about like, I think obviously as a kid, you didn't think like, oh, I'm going to grow up and be a storyteller. What were your plans and how did you end up, being where you are now?
You know what? So I have a philosophy, and I know you said you wanted to talk about mindfulness, which I'm glad. It's sort of a mindful philosophy. What I feel is that when you can look at life as learning experiences, and you can learn from every experience, you get more and more refined on what you want to do. So you're right. I didn't wake up saying I want to do specifically storytelling or the mindfulness work, but I just threw myself in different experiments. I tried different career fields. I tried different things. I tried different business ventures, whatever you want to call it. And I think what I learned is that there's no such thing as failure. It's either you learn or you grow. So when I started to grasp this concept, and this just came from trial and error, just my own self-reflection, I started to just see everything as a part of a journey. And even right now, I'm telling you what I do now, who knows where I'll be 5-10 years from now. But one thing I've learned is that I'm not so rigid on like what I do. As long as I'm happy doing it, and as long as it can provide a means to an end, like an income or like some type of other fulfillments that can make you keep doing it, then keep doing it. I think that's very important. I think there's a lot of people who follow trends, and there's people who either create a trend or follow a trend that's, really in tune with them. And that's what I encourage people to do. And that's what I've pretty much done my whole life.
Yeah, no, awesome. And it sounds like you're saying just being willing to like be flexible, right? So if something changes or trend's no longer a trend, or you find something you're more passionate or enjoy doing more, be flexible with yourself where you can go down that other path, which who knows where it will lead you. And I think this leads, you brought up the mindfulness piece, which I want to spend some time talking about that because it's something I'm also very passionate about and has been life-changing for me. But when you do have that mindfulness practice, it's a lot easier to be kind of self-aware and more in touch with those things.
Yeah. I get asked this a lot is, what is your definition of mindfulness? And I'll give you the most simplistic definition I can think of, or at least one of them is, all it is that you're just connected with yourself. So you can do an action and not be present. That's not mindful. You can be mindful, meaning you can, really ask yourself, is this something I'm meant to do? Or am I in a kind of a state of mind where I'm just keep going and like, I got this drive? Or can I get to that calmness within and just to take a breath, to help me take a step back and not just react or just move forward? It's like, no, take a step back and process and see it. Those are examples of being mindful. And so I think a few years ago, I recently experienced this on a big level where I wasn't being mindful to a certain degree professionally. And then you brought up Dr. Oz. It's interesting. So I had an interview with Dr. Oz, and one of the questions I asked him is, how do you manage your time? You're like the busiest person ever. And he said, it's not about my time, it's about how I manage my energy. And the moment he said that to me, it was already something that I knew and something that like I feel a lot of us know, but he said it in such a simplified way. I realized then, wow, like I have this energy inside. My energy meaning what I use for activities. So for instance, working out's energy, watching TV's taking energy, writing, doing this interviews takes energy. And so how you manage your energy, allows you to either be productive or allows you to be depressed, because if you put that energy on like the negative things, it can help lead, unfortunately, to you being more sad or whatnot. And the energy can be used to move forward, whether it's a fitness goal or a money goal or a business goal. So that's kind of my philosophy right now, that I feel that our most valuable currency in our life is our energy. I used to think it's about your purpose, your status, and all these things. And those are all great things, but all those things can be created based on the energy outputs that you give to that thing that you want to do.
Wow. Yeah. I love that. I mean, so putting your energy in the things that you get happiness out of, or that are going to produce positive results. And I love your definition of mindfulness, because it really simplifies it, I think, for a lot of people. I totally agree with that. And a lot of people, I think, have this misconception that mindfulness means like that you have to sit for an hour and cross your legs in your living room. And mindfulness applies to everything, right? Mindful parenting, mindful eating, mindful movement. Like you can apply it to everything in your life.
So one other factor, and I know we'll talk a little more about peak mindful maybe, but one thing that I'm really big into is, you're right. It's not about doing an hour a day. If you can't do it, if you can do it, great. If you can't, that's fine too. I'm very excited about, or I get excited when I can see people developing a daily mindfulness habit. So one thing I've learned is that just like exercise, just like work productivity, just like, certain actions that you do to make your life go to the positive, I feel you can apply the same thing to mindfulness. So what I'm saying is I'd rather have you do 10 minutes every day, Monday through Friday, or hopefully Monday through Sunday, than do 1 or 2 hour sessions on like a Saturday or Friday. It's like, oh, mindfulness retreat, which is totally fine. But I feel it's more effective when you do a daily habit so that you condition yourself to have a life where you can't see yourself functioning without mindfulness. And I'm in that state now. And all I do is 10 minutes a day. Like I get asked this a lot. I do a lot of coaching with some business leaders and rising professionals. And they always ask me in the beginning, can you tell me your mindfulness thing? Like, how much time should I carve out? I'm like, 10 minutes a day. And everyone's like, what? I'm like, yeah, it's just 10 minutes. And for some it's 5, for some it's 20. But my point is that if you could do that consistently, I feel that you will understand this idea of what it is to be more mindful in your work hustle or productivity, profession, whatnot.
Absolutely. I think consistency is more important than how long you do it for. Mindfulness practice has even evolved into where it's small pieces throughout the day, not always just in the beginning or the end of the day, but even just a 1 or 2 or 3 minute midday or in certain moments. So breaking it up throughout the day has worked really well for me. But let's talk about peak mindfulness and how you're bringing mindfulness into the workplace, and kind of talk a little bit about how, teaching people mindfulness actually helps them have, gains in their professional life and be more mindful in their job and things like that.
Yeah, happy to talk about that. So what happened is myself and some colleagues, we realized that mindfulness is not as adopted in the workplace, any kind of workplace. I'm not labeling office. I think any kind of workplace. It could be when this interview is being taped, even a digital workplace. And so I learned from my conversations with the Dr. Oz's and my own self-growth and some other people that you mentioned, that the same concept that you do at home, or after work, like yoga or working out or like meditating, I feel like you can apply that to help you during work or help do certain exercises to get you ready for work. And because if you come into work with a more clear head, mindfulness kind of mindset, or you have some ways of dealing with outside energies, and if you learn to not let them affect you, if you learn to understand that your own energy is the only thing you control and other energies are the things that don't control you, that is one of the keys that we're trying to help you unravel with our own content. So as of this interview, I know we're taping this interview on June. In July, we're going to be launching a whole new series of daily videos on our Peak Mindful app, which is going to address this. But it's really cool because as I did this project, I learned so much myself. So one thing I advise people is if you want to be more mindful, find ways to always learn on the job. I'm not a trainee, but I'm learning from helping build this company, how to be more mindful, examples, even checking myself. Am I putting in too much energy into work and not having a work-life balance or balance and whatnot? So these are things that we're trying to showcase with Peak Mindful. And more importantly, we're really trying to remind you that daily beats once a week, and growing and learning is the key, not failing.
Now, what's some of the feedback that you guys have been getting from the people that you're working with? The things that they're noticing and the small, gains or feedback from the people that are really getting involved and getting that consistency of that daily practice through your program?
Mindfulness eventually becomes like a autopilot routine. So the way you get up and you brush your teeth, the way you get up and you go to the bathroom, the way you get up and you need a shower, they look at the mindfulness routine as that. They don't even realize it. It's just so conditioned in their head that it's something you have to do, just as important as drinking a glass of water.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Totally agree. So tell us about your experience in writing the foreword for Profit.
Yeah, I was super honored and blessed to do that. Shout out to Christopher Decker for inviting me to be part of that project. I think the thing that I learned, so I've known him for a few years now, and both him and I have gone through some big journeys. Like, he actually knew me when I wasn't as mindful. He knew me when I was what you would call more toxic, the person who needed to get that kick in the you know what when I had to go through some changes and got these inspiring talks that you mentioned with Dr. Oz and whatnot. So when he asked me to do this, I felt I was the best person to do it, because the topics that he talked about, I've dealt with a lot of them, not all of them, but most of the topics that's in his book. But the ones that I really connected with, I was like, I could see why I was meant to do this. And so writing the foreword was cool because, like, he talked about his own journey from some, whether it's a rock bottom moment or some situation where things might not have worked out, but to how he grew from it, how he didn't give up. He learned and he grew from his experiences. I felt a kindred connection. And so writing the foreword, talking about that, and of course, more proud to seeing Christopher develop what he's developed in this book, which is so awesome. I've read the final manuscripts based on what he has sent me, and it's seriously going to be a bestseller. I don't know how it can't be. It's such a well-written, raw book, and I'm happy to be a part of the process in my own small way.
Yeah, and it's all centered around storytelling.
Yeah, it is. It is. He's very good at storytelling, but I think the book is good too for people who are. I think one thing that's happening right now, especially with this post-pandemic workplace kind of situation we have right now, is I think a lot of people feel alone. And I think one of the things that his book makes you realize is you're not alone. Now, I'm not talking about alone like, major therapy or anything like that. Obviously, there's a whole market and insight for that. I'm talking about professionally. I think a lot of people feel like they might be stuck with their job, or they might feel like they don't have the right work-life balance. Maybe they're not feeling that they're married the right person or with the right person if they're in a relationship, or am I being the best father, or am I being mindful or not? And I think the thing is that when you get over the fact that you're not alone in this world, and you get over the fact that there's no such thing as wrong, and that it's just about learning and growing. And I think that's some things you'll get from his book, alongside the stories and, tales that he's had over the many years.
Yeah. I mean, people just appreciate that raw authenticity, right? And, part of maybe feeling alone is people being able to relate to other people, right? And that helps them not feel so alone.
Well said. Yeah. No, I agree with you, man. It's such a interesting time right now. And the best piece of advice I'd give to people is ask yourself, like, can you focus on being a contribution and just focus on that? However you define contribution, there's no right or wrong, and just stick to that. And you got to not let outside energies affect you. I think that's one thing I'm noticing now, is that we're so easily distracted or so easily influenced by other things. I'm not telling you not to stop social media. I'm not telling you, because this is technically going to be on social. So believe me, I encourage you to listen and watch content on social media. What I'm saying is look at it from a sense of control, meaning I'm going to listen to this, I'm going to process it, but I'm not going to let it dictate my life. And I think that's one thing that I encourage people to do. And that's how you could be more mindful without doing a mindfulness practice, even if you don't want to do it for whatever reason.
Having a mindful intention of your use of these sources of taking in information, and not letting it affect you in such a big way.
Yeah, pretty much.
Awesome. Hey, it's been a pleasure having you on here. Before I let you go, tell people where they can find you, where they can find out more about Peak Mindfulness, and of course, where they can obviously find the book as well. Yeah.
So three answers to your question. I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn, ASHKUMRA. So please add me on LinkedIn. Love to learn more what you're up to. Peak Mindful, PEAKMINDFUL.com. And if anyone needs any info on that, ash@peakmindful.com. And in terms of the book, it's called The Profit. And so, it's on Amazon right now. So Yeah, I'm super excited that it's coming out. It's funny. I actually ordered it this week, and I would literally be showing you the copy right now, but it's not coming till later today. But the point in making is that it's readily available on Amazon. It was a book made out of love and many years. Christopher did a great job, and so I hope everyone decides to buy it.
Awesome. Thanks, Ash. Appreciate you coming on here. If you're listening to the podcast, please subscribe, share with your friends, and we're listening for your feedback. The show is all about you.
Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Monster Chats, presented by Monster VoIP, where we share the tools, methods, and best practices that business leaders use to build new connections, strengthen relationships, and impact sales in organizations of all shapes and sizes. If you have any questions from today's show and want to reach us directly, please text your question to 424-378-6966.